Great. So let's go to the last matchup of the second round, the Sixers and Celtics. They played earlier today, and the Sixers are surprisingly up 1-0 without Joel Embiid. So Harden had a phenomenal game, scoring 45 points. In fact, he is known for shrinking in the big moment, but he actually hit the essentially game-winning three
Mm-hmm.
in tonight's game. So I guess what are your thoughts on the game, and what are your thoughts on the series? And
Okay, so the
that?
game, Maxine Harden played well, and you know what, and Tobias Harris also played well too. For me, watching this game, very similar to Game 5 against the Hawks, the Celtics did not play as hard as they should have. Like pretty careless with the ball at times. They had 16 turnovers compared to the 6 turnovers of the Sixers, and as a result, the Sixers had more shots in this game than the Celtics. Right. So basically, the Sixers had 14 more shots than the Celtics, and they had far less turnovers as well. So that's just from the stat sheet and from watching the game. It's just effort and just focus, in my opinion. When watching the Celtics, it's very similar to Game 5 against the Hawks, like I mentioned, and I still think the Celtics will probably win this in 6 games. But this is concerning for me just because for me, I walking into the year and throughout the year, I thought the Celtics would win the entire thing. This is concerning for me for 2 reasons. One, lack of focus has shown up twice in a span of 1 week. Especially the lack of focus came when a star player was hurt or out of the game, right? In this case, it was Embiid. The other time, DeJounte Murray was out. The second thing is, I am very big on trying to take care of your business quickly so you can get some decent amount of rest in between series. So the Hawks took them to 6 games when it should not have taken 6 games. Whereas Sixers were waiting for them after a 4-game sweep of the Nets. So the Celtics had to move straight into this next series. Now the Heat are up 1 against the Knicks. The Celtics are down 1 against Sixers. Assuming that if the Heat or Knicks, I guess, but probably the Heat, if they finish their series before the Celtics, then even if the Celtics beat the Sixers, they have to go straight into a series against the Heat, and the Heat are probably like the most rugged defensive team that there is out there. So, and the reason why I mentioned this is because it's hard to play the playoffs for 2 months straight without adequate rest in between series, because it's just so physically and mentally draining. So although I still think the Celtics will win in 6 games, I'm getting really concerned about their long-term prospects for the rest of the postseason, because they seem to have this habit of laying their guard down whenever a star player is out and not playing with the level of focus that it should be.
I agree. I think we forgot to mention about Tyrese Maxey having a 26-point game as well.
I could have sworn I said Maxey. Did I not?
Harris.
If I didn't, then
Harris also played well. I'm not gonna say
yeah.
he also played well.
Yeah.
But Maxey had a big game, and I guess for me, I would agree with you. I think it's kind of less interesting of a podcast because we will both agree in this particular situation, or just all of these playoff series, to be quite frank. But it's hard not to pick the Celtics despite their lack of focus in this game, because at the end of the day, the Sixers,
so much talent.
The Sixers barely won, and then essentially they would have to have, like, Harden would have to have a fantastic game, something maybe not necessarily like 45 points, but he'll still have to have at least a 30-plus point game. Maxey needs to show up. Tobias Harris would need to potentially score a bit more if Harden isn't scoring that much. I forgot to mention DeAnthony Melton played a fantastic game with 17 points tonight with 2 blocks, which is I think is key.
Yeah.
There, but again, it's like you're expecting these really good big games from everybody just to barely eke out a win.
Yeah.
And I don't know how sustainable that is throughout a 7 game series. So,
Yeah, because it's very obvious that Harden is nowhere near what he was in his prime. He averaged 17 points
Yep.
on 34% shooting in the first round of the playoffs. And then he comes out in game one for 45 points and shooting 57% from the field. Now, part of that is probably he was just
on
feeling it
threes.
tonight.
7 for 14 on 3.
Yes.
It's huge.
7 threes. Now, part of it is yes, he was probably feeling it tonight, but let's be real. Like other than the Clippers, the Celtics have the best wing defenders in the league.
Yep.
Right. So you can't tell me that a guy who was shooting 34%, averaging 17 points, and you are the best wing defenders in the league, and he comes into your building and he gets 45 points. Like that is more so effort, in my opinion, just especially from watching the game. Like Harden was getting anything he wanted, right? Whether it was not just Tatum and Brown, but also Smart as well, right? So yeah, for me, that's just lack of focus, lack of energy, lack of just God. I mean, I don't know what other adjectives to use, but yeah, man, just it was really disappointing to watch just because this team on paper has the most talent, right? And on both ends too. So this is fairly concerning if you are betting on the Celtics long term in this postseason.
And keep in mind, the Sixers don't have Embiid.
Yeah.
Is their key, like he's arguably the best center in the league. So and I would presume MVP of the MVP was it the league
Season.
MVP this year. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy because I feel like it'd be a lot harder to call if the Sixers had a healthy Embiid.
Yeah.
Since I mean, I don't think Al Horford's going to be able to defend Embiid all night. I mean, Robert Williams is good, but again, Embiid is a monster himself. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
tough assignment.
Would you play Embiid in game 2, or would you wait until the Celtics win a game before playing Embiid? Because it was reported today that he was going through shoot around at about 70% of the normal speed, and he has a grade 2 sprain that normally takes about a month to heal from, but it's only been about 10 to 11 days. So how long would you keep Embiid out?
I think since the Sixers did win tonight, I think they can actually rest him for game 2 as well, since they already won. They already essentially won home court for the time being. Yeah. And then I think game 3 is when they have to start him, unless somehow the Sixers beat the Celtics again in Boston, which I don't think is very likely. But if that were to happen, then they could potentially rest him for game 3. But if the Sixers lose game 2, then I do believe that they should try to convince Embiid to play. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's a tough to call. I mean, realistically, I think by game 4 they're gonna need Embiid. Like, so even if hypothetically, if you already, I think at absolute max, you can probably rest Embiid for 2 games, mm-hmm. Game 3 and game 4, and game 2 and game 3, but game 4 I think is the latest that Embiid has to come back unless he actually, absolutely cannot play whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree with you. I will say that except for game 6 and 7, so the days between games 6 and 7, every game of the series is every other day. So the longer that you can keep Embiid resting on the sidelines to recover from his knee injury, the better. because even when he comes back, he's going to only have 36 to 48 hours to like rest, right? And it's probably closer to like 36 because they have game 3 on a weekend as well, I believe. Is there a game 3 or 4? I don't have it in front of me right now. But usually those weekend games are also earlier, right? So having only 36 to 40 hours to rest in between games, especially when you already have injury, is tough. So the longer that the Sixers can rest Embiid, the more that it helps them in the series.
Yeah. I mean, like again, if the Sixers can somehow go up 2-1 after 3 games, which I think is unlikely.
Mhm.
If they can go up 2-1, I think it's okay to rest Embiid. But again, it's like in my opinion, it's an unlikely scenario.
Yeah,
Because when I said like coming back in game 4, that's assuming the Celtics are up 2-1 prior to game 4.
agreed.